I thought about making this video today. Today is November 8th, 2021. And that marks the 2-year anniversary of when Dorian was first performed back in 2019 at the WVU School of Theater and Dance. And the reason I wanted to make this video was because a lot has happened since 2019, obviously. And I wanted to make this video to give everyone some insight about where the show is, what's going on with it, what's happened since 2019, because a lot was sort of teased and promised and announced back then before COVID happened. And it's not that I feel like I have to explain anything, right? But I feel like lending some insight into where everything is right now is not only helpful for me, but helpful for the people that were involved with the show or going to be involved with the show. So basically, the original plan for Dorian was there was going to be a staged reading in fall 2019. And then at some point in 2020, in conjunction with the School of Theater and Dance at West Virginia University, we would put on a more fully realized production of Dorian. So kind of think of, the workshop reading that it did receive as kind of like a test run, and we would get a chance to do it a second time, more fully realized, a newer show, a more improved show. Me and Jeremiah, who originally directed the show, we kind of had a meeting together and we bounced around the idea of doing a summer production because the spring season was fully booked and I think one of the shows were already cast, which was completely fine. I was lucky enough just to get, the first reading. But that was the plan at the original time. We were going to do, hopefully going to do a summer reading. And that meeting kind of happened a month after the workshop. And so, of course, over winter break and over the course of the first half of the second semester, I was in full writing mode. I wrote 3 new songs. I went back and completely overhauled all the songs that I had already written to make it closer to what I wanted. I met with people about the story and spent a meeting in Starbucks talking about the story and how it could be better and what were the original flaws of the workshop, because there were plenty of flaws. And I really wanted to get the second workshop the best it could be. With where the show would be at in its trajectory. Then COVID happened, and that threw a lot of things out the window. Theater closed down, the arts closed down in general, and it was, it wasn't a very pleasant time. I had to finish my college degree online, which is not something that I had planned. Obviously, I never, went to graduation and got my diploma on stage or anything, and that it took months, even a year, to fully process the loss of that. I had plans to go see Hadestown on Broadway with friends, and that, of course, that didn't happen. So there were a lot of things that were happening that were not, according to plan. And then I was still holding on to Dorian for dear life. The first couple of months, that's what really kept me going, was being able to work on Dorian, not knowing when we would be able to do it again. Obviously, at that point, the whole summer production thing, it didn't look like it was going to happen. And as disappointed as I understood why we couldn't do it. And, it didn't rule out, future performances of it. So I was at peace with that. Yeah, if anything, it just gave me more time to work on it and make it better for whenever a workshop would come around. And at some point it did. We were about a month into the pandemic, and someone here locally in Virginia Beach offered to do a workshop of Dorian because they had seen it on YouTube, and they wanted to, do a joint workshop with Dorian and another show. And of course I was ecstatic. I was oh my God, this is great. It is going to happen, and at the time, we still didn't know anything about COVID. We thought it would just be 2 weeks and that everything would be fine. And, we had planned the workshop to be in August. By August, it'll all be gone and we'll have theater back again. So I worked through the summer. I kept working on the show, making it better, and just trying to really get it to a point when I was ready to put it on the stage again. And inevitably, that whole thing was canceled. Everything fell through. And I think I took it harder than the first time around, Again, everyone thought that this whole thing would be temporary, that it wouldn't be around for a year and a half like it has been now, almost 2 years at this point, and the second time it happened where that fell through, I was devastated, because at that point, it really truly did feel like we wouldn't be able to do this anywhere in the near future. And and I do not fault the people I was working with at all. They had to make a really tough decision, and ultimately it was the safest decision. Like, we were not ready to have people back in the theater again in August of 2020. Like, absolutely not. But even though I knew that, even though I knew it was the logical decision to make, it devastated me. I was like beside myself with grief, because it felt like the show had been like killed. And I know that sounds dramatic, but because the first workshop went so well, I was looking forward to doing it again with a new roster of people and seeing where else the show could go. And to have all that work kind of amount to nothing is a giant letdown. So much so that I tried to keep writing, but I was extremely uninspired and burnt out at that point. And as much as I hated it, I was like, I have to put this down, because it's not, I don't know when theater's going to be back. At the time, I'm like ashamed to say that it felt like a waste of time. It just did. So I decided to put the show on hold and not work on it and work on other projects. And I told myself that I'll know when the right time is to come back to it. Like, it by no means was I like throwing it away forever and never touching it again. At some points it did feel like that, but I knew that that wasn't the case. A year and a half goes by, and we're all adjusting to the pandemic. We're getting vaccinated. We're trying to get our life back. Delta comes back, whatever. All that stuff we all know. Then theater started coming back around September. And that was a really exciting time. It was great to see like my favorite shows going back on Broadway, or just like local theater opening up again. It was a really exciting time, because it felt like finally things were starting to resemble as they did before the pandemic. And then I went to go see Hadestown at the Kennedy Center with my boyfriend. And it was the first show that I had seen since before the pandemic. And I got so emotional. Like, by the end of it, I was just like completely emotional. And I realized just how much I had missed theater. I looked back on all the things like, about the failed workshops of, there were like talks of trying to do like a cast recording with the original cast from the workshop. Like, there's so many things where we tried to do like a virtual Dorian presentation with the original cast. That fell apart too. There were so many things that it felt like it kept falling apart with the show, And then when I saw Hadestown at the Kennedy Center, it just reminded me just how much I love theater and how much I missed writing theater. And I sat with that feeling for like a week, and then something just told me like, it's time. You're ready to start writing Dorian again. And it didn't happen like right away. I was gradually getting back into it. I went back and watched the recording of the performance, and I cringed at all the stuff that I know now could be a lot better. And I went back and watched the documentaries, and I started making my way back to the book, and just the things that initially drew me to the musical. And then I went back and listened to all the songs, and the one thing that solidified my belief that it was time to pick up the musical again was the fact that I had so many ideas to make it better than what I had. And that was extremely affirming. And I'm happy to say that I'm working on Dorian again. And it's it's really exciting, and I really did miss it. I missed writing for this show. As far as when we could possibly get another workshop of it, I wish I could say when, but I just don't know. I have started reaching out to some local theaters about it. I'm in the process of trying to garner up interest for a workshop. I'm even thinking of putting a team together to market and produce the show. I'm not really sure. It's all up in the air. Right now, I'm just focused on gradually getting back into the writing of it and working on the show, making it better, making it as good as I can in where I am in my life right now. To go back to the music, to go back to the story, it just conjured up all these memories of all the people that helped me get the musical where it is up to this point. And I know now that I'm ready to take it to a whole nother level. And I felt it was important to like make this kind of video, and I didn't want it to come off as like a pity party, or it's not what I wanted at all, but I felt that it was important to make this video and just kind of tell everybody where it is, because there was a lot of people wanting to know what I was doing with Dorian. Are you still working on Dorian? When's the show going to be back again? Like, when are you going to workshop it? And at the time, I was like, I don't know. I don't have any answers. But I feel like really strongly with the timing of everything, and I'm a huge believer in that the universe is constantly conspiring in my favor. I know for a fact that this is the right time to pick up Dorian again. I'm not in a place where I ever want to let the show go. Things have not gotten that bad, and I have a lot of faith on where the show could go. And I don't have plans to take it to Broadway or to. All I want to do with the show is to make it something that can inspire people. That's what I've always wanted to do with my music. That's what I always wanted to do with any art that I create. And Dorian is how I'm doing it right now. But I mean, needless to say, thank you to everybody who has not only been checking in on me and where the show is at, but just have been supporting me as a composer, as an artist since the pandemic hit, and even before that. I really hope to bring you guys more updates. New songs are I hate to say in the works, but yeah, they're in the works. But yeah, I truly felt like I owed it to the people that stuck with this little amoeba musical, as Jeremiah put it when I first started working on it with him. And yeah, I really hope to bring the show to the next level, because I definitely think I'm ready for that. But yeah, thank you guys if you've stuck around this long, and I hopefully will see everybody soon.